no matter how much we learn about Bitachon, we're always left with questions. So it says clearly in Shah HaBitachon that Bitachon leads to a life free of anxiety and worry. Bitachon is not about money or blessing. It's about our relationship with Hashem. But Bitachon means that Hashem doesn't want me to suffer. He wants to fulfill my very prayers tangibly, the way I ask for them. I can expect that He will do so because He wants all my dreams to come true. One of the 613 mitzvot according to some reckonings, and one of the prerequisites for mitzvot according to others, is bitachon, trust in Hashem. Now, this is an extremely confusing topic. I would imagine most of us have participated in the following discussion at least once in their life. Someone says, "Don't worry, put your trust in Hashem." Then the other retorts, "But don't you know that you have to make your own effort? Hishtadlut." The first one then says, "Don't you know the story about the man who sold his only donkey, put his trust in Hashem and became a millionaire overnight?" Then the other says, "Well, that's very nice. But don't you know about those parents whose child was sick and they decided not to take them to the hospital and put their trust in Hashem? And the child died." This is your typical conversation between a person whose soul is rooted in chesed, high in extroversion and positive mood, and somebody whose soul is rooted in gevura, high in neuroticism and conscientiousness. The former comes across as reckless in their trust of Hashem, and the latter comes across as having little or no trust at all. What's the answer? So it says clearly in Shah HaBitachon that Bitachon leads to a life free of anxiety and worry, a life of peace and tranquility, and this is available to all. Yet, it seems that no matter how much we learn about Bitachon, we are always left with questions. We find it impossible to accept that we can trust in Hashem to be good to us. Just look back in history, and what horrible Holocaust our ancestors have gone through, Rahman al-Atzlan. In this talk, I want to iron out these issues once and for all and make it all crystal clear. Indeed, the truth is that it is possible to reach the level of bitachon where, like the simple Jew who sold his donkey, we can sit back, relax, and do nothing, and Hashem will bless us and look after us. However, we have to get it right. In that story, the great scholars of the Al-Shiq asked why they weren't able to do that. Surely they had even more knowledge of Hashem's goodness and trustworthiness. For the vast majority of us, we are meant to make an effort, even great Torah scholars. If we don't, we only have ourselves to blame for the calamities that befall us. So, let's explain. The biggest key to the puzzle is noting the purpose of effort. Yes, we do have to make an effort, as we've said, but there is something very important to note. The effort does not actually produce the result that we want from the effort. For example, to make money, we must work, so we go out and we do some work and get paid. It looks to us and everyone around us that it was our work, our physical labor that produced the wealth that we received in the end. However, the first and most important halacha of bitachon is that we must know in our heart with a complete faith that the effort itself did not produce the wealth, not even in the slightest. The success, blessing, and wealth came 100% only from Hashem. So, the one practical takeaway from this halacha is that we are not allowed to make too much effort. Think about it. If we need £5,000 to get through the month and set out to earn that, we are supposed to calculate exactly how much effort is required to achieve that. If we do even a drop more work, that can only be coming from a place of lack of belief that the blessings come from Hashem. It's coming from our belief in our own efforts to whatever degree. Once we understand this, we can understand the second extremely vital halacha. The more we recognize that it is all coming from Hashem, the less effort we have to make. As you can see, there is a big mountain to climb in this belief, a spectrum. Some people are on one end, who think that the effort is 100% the source of the success, and some people are on the other end, who know that the effort is 0% the source and it's all Hashem, and of course, everyone in between. One problem that's preventing most people, I'd say, from moving all the way to the 100% Hashem belief is that they have an emotional objection to this whole situation. They feel that if Hashem is the source of blessing and our goal is to recognize that, then why does He hide that fact and make it seem like the opposite is true? Why does He test us in this way when He so easily could not? Therefore, we need an answer to this first. Indeed, our Gevurah friend is right. We must make an effort. The key is that this is because Hashem commands us to. As we said, the effort doesn't achieve anything, but we are still commanded to do it by Hashem Himself for His own purposes. So what is this all about? To answer this, we have to understand the purpose of effort itself. There is lots to say. The simplest answer is that it's good for us to grow and become hardworking, mature and selfless people. But let's go deeper and cut right to the chase here. The deep answer is that Hashem's blessings are so lofty, so sublime, that they cannot properly fit into the confines of nature. They descend from the highest of heavens, from Hashem's wisdom and his very kindness himself, all the way down to the level of our souls, the level of Gan Eden. There, they cannot go any further due to how sublime they are and how coarse the physical world is. If they were to descend further, they would utterly disrupt nature and utterly remove the most precious gift of all, free will. It would take a tremendous amount of merit for someone to receive a blessing this way, so we have to do our efforts to make what is called a vessel, a means by which Hashem can sneak the blessing into the world without being an overt miracle. We do this primarily through our prayer, but also we must invest in physical labor, again, to the degree that our level of Bitachon requires. If we do not, then of course the blessings don't just dissipate, they remain for our soul on the level of Gan Eden. However, we would be punished for this. Because we are not trying to build Gan Eden up, our job is to build up the world and make it good and holy. We cause sorrow down here if we squander this blessing for ourselves in heaven. It's meant for down here. So yes, this is why we have to make a hishtadlut, even though the hishtadlut does not achieve anything by itself. Now we must understand the other part, why having more bitachon means making less effort. This seems like a contradiction to what we just said. However, it's not so hard to understand. Let's go back to the story of the simple Jew who sold his donkey and became a millionaire. In that story, how did he actually become a millionaire? Through miraculous means? Actually, no. It was actually through a completely natural, if very unlikely means. He sold his donkey to an Arab who took the donkey to dig up a treasure that he'd heard about, and just as he'd loaded the treasure onto the back of the donkey, a branch fell from the tree above him, hit him on the head, killing him. The donkey simply returned back to the simple Jew. Hashem has many natural ways through which he can send us blessings, some requiring a lot of effort on our part, and some requiring none at all. 1 in a million of us can literally sit back and make no real effort at all, and he will bless us. Obviously, that's not true for the vast majority of us, and therefore, the rest of the halachot are clear. We have to make an effort. We are meant to take out life insurance, write a will, we are meant to go to the doctor when we are sick, we're meant to work, and we are meant to put our heart and soul into helping our fellow and not just tell them to have trust in Hashem. All the while, though, the halacha states that we must remember that it's Hashem causing success, not our efforts, and we must always be striving to increase our emunah in this and thus our trust in Hashem. So all that's left to understand now is why we get to make less effort the more bitachon we have. So one illustration comes from Rabbeinu Moreno RabbiYehoshuaSimons Zecher Tzadik Livracha, where he gives us a tangible example in his Eitz Anaf Avot. He brings a story from the Chafetz Chaim, that at that time, the yeshiva students came to him in distress. The Russian army was conscripting people, and they were in a panic, asking what they should do to avoid the draft. The Chafetz Chaim said to them, remember what it says in Pirkei Avot. Those who take upon themselves the yoke of Torah will have the yoke of government removed from them. Rav Ovadia notes, though, that many yeshiva students were still drafted, even though they were full-time learners. So what's going on? The answer is that everything is measure for measure, midah keneged midah. Those who dedicate themselves to Torah with strength, learning with alacrity and without distraction, have the yoke of government removed from them completely. Those who only take on the yoke of Torah in a weak, lazy way, have the yoke of government removed from them also in a weak way. Does this answer satisfy? I bet many of you are still not satisfied. Why does Hashem do this? Why does he seemingly toy with us in this way such that we get what we ask for? If we expect that we need to work hard, he makes us work hard. Why does he not just make it easy anyway? He so easily can, and many find it petty. Okay, well now it's time for the final secret of Bitachon. The truth is, Bitachon is not about money or blessing. It's about our relationship with Hashem. Every relationship is founded on trust. We can see this from the story of the sin of the golden calf, the Chet HaEgel. We know that only 10,000 Jews died in punishment for this sin, and the other 3 million were not. We know from the sources and careful reading of the verses that the rest were not bowing down to idols. Yet we also know that nonetheless we were punished gravely for this, and are still scattered among the nations of the world, suffering predominantly from the sin we committed. If it wasn't idol worship, what could it be? The issue was lack of trust in Hashem. He promised that Moshe would come back, and we should have trusted in him. Moshe says later on in Devarim that we tested Hashem 10 times. So why did we test him? The answer is, he said that he is ours, and we simply couldn't believe it. We thought we didn't deserve him, and he was only doing this for the sake of our forefathers whose merit had run out. That's why we immediately panicked when we didn't have water or meat. Not because we were greedy, but because we genuinely thought we didn't deserve Hashem's kindness and we were definitely going to lose him and die in the desert. The epitome of this was the golden calf. Right after he said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem and I am yours, our first thought was, but what if we mess up? You won't be ours anymore, will you? Maybe if we make a golden calf, you'll abandon us. Isn't this relatable? Every marriage has the exact same issues. We go through a period where we sincerely worry that, if only our spouse knew who we really are, they will certainly leave us. We test them. We show them our worst in a fight or something like that. And we watch carefully to see what will they do. They don't leave, and our trust goes up a bit. Indeed, we tested Hashem 10 times this way, as Moshe tells us, and he passed all our tests. He even said, that's it, I am done with you, let's make a new nation, and he didn't. The one whose word is truth itself said that he would leave us and didn't. This gave us enough trust to go through 2,000 years of Galut. Everybody who's got through this period of their relationship, whether it's a marriage or a friendship, loses the panic. They can have a big fight, they can be really angry at each other, or the spouse can be angry at you, and you don't panic. You know that they're going to come back, even better than before. However, let's go back. At the time of the lack of the trust, it was coming from a good place. I mean, it's nice to say, I don't deserve you, right? But taking it too far is a terrible, terrible sin. Every parent knows that if their children do not trust them to take care of them and try to take care of themselves, it hurts deeply. It literally weakens the parent. And this is one of the secrets of Tenu Oz Lelohim. Give strength to God. Our trust in him is essential to him, absolutely essential to him, because it is a perfection to expect trust from our beloveds. This is why the real story of the golden calf isn't about idol worship, but is hiding in plain sight. The verses in chapter 3 are the real story. Hashem said, I will let you go to Eretz Israel, but I'm not going to take you anymore. I'm going to send an angel. And we said, if you don't take us, we don't want to go. And this is what melted his heart. This is the real story of the golden calf. It's the most beautiful relationship of love and awe between a righteous people and their romantic God. So no, this is not a game. Hashem isn't just putting us through this ordeal for the sake of our own growth, even against our will. That is just the most superficial point about Bitachon. Bitachon is actually an essential ingredient in a holy, intimate relationship, a prerequisite for the mitzvahs, according to many. Without it, there is no relationship. It's not a game. It's real. He promised to be ours. Do we doubt it? This is the hardest test of all. Even Yaakov wasn't perfect in his trust when he sent the gifts to Esav and bowed to him 7 times. And he was punished. Mina Keneged Mida, he had a limp. He couldn't rely on his leg, just like he didn't rely on Hashem. But it shouldn't be hard. Having him as our God, looking after us, should be the most wonderful news in the world. We want nobody but him to look after us, not even an angel. So this helps us understand why the simple Jew was able to reach the highest levels of trust in Hashem and sell his donkey and become a millionaire, while the great learned students of the Al-Sheikh failed. Even though they understood God's greatness better, they still didn't get what trust was all about. They were too lost in the theology of God and were too focused on using him for his blessings. They wanted money, not God, and no amount of trust that he can do anything would change that. The simple Jew, on the other hand, learned that you can trust in God to look after you, and this appealed to him in a different way. He fell in love with God upon hearing that, and sold his donkey because he wanted to be closer to Hashem and please his maker. So, this finally helps us understand the real meaning of Bitachon. Many think that Bitachon only means that we reach the level where we trust that everything is ultimately for the good, even the holocausts. Thus, we continue in fear for the next Holocaust, chas v'shalom. But the Hasidic definition of Bitachon is not like that at all. If that were the case, then what's the difference between Emunah and Bitachon? Emunah means that everything is for the good, but Bitachon means that Hashem doesn't want me to suffer. He wants to fulfill my very prayers, tangibly, the way I ask for them. I can expect that he will do so because he wants nothing more, because he loves me. He wants all my dreams to come true. Bitachon means that they will come true, not in a hidden way, but in a clear, direct way, because his love is real and true, and not just for my benefit. My trust in him is essential for him, for his own sake, and not simply a benevolence to me. He wants me to have a tranquil life with minimal effort in work, without having to travel far for work or many hours, so I can spend quality time with the family He gave me and connect to Him by lovingly studying His Torah all day with dedication and effort, but out of pleasant effort, so I can be with Him just like He wants to be with me. I don't know about you, but I don't want anyone or anything else, not even an angel. Ein od milvado. This is Bitachon. Shkoyach.